Way down deep inside, covered by a lot of snow, is a little piece of me that wants to survive. It's what I'm looking for when I'm having sex. Maybe we all are. Me, I need someone to bang on me hard enough to dislodge this little piece. Bring it to the surface to peer through the peephole, or maybe even whimper slip into a lover's ear. Making love is for people taking a break from their already comfy lives. What I'm talking about is what comes from someplace ugly, something hard and numb like gristle with its own rogue pulse. It's a kind of slippery thing you got to get your hands around and squeeze, maybe even strangle, just to get it to make a noise. One early Michigan winter when I was about 9, against my parents' advice, I skated not only into but onto the reflected sunset of a just-frozen inland lake. The ice was beautiful, still thin enough to be transparent, not much more than a lens into the 40 feet deep secrets of freshwater life. Background to my strides were enough booms to warn me away from the middle. If you've ever heard ice boom while you're on it, you understand why it's likened to thunder, to when the sky is torn open by a flash of electric rage. If you've ever heard these booms and not turned around or kept to the edges where the freeze is always thicker, you may have met face to face the human characteristic of risk sickness with which at least a few of us are afflicted. None of the cracks, I told myself, were opening immediately under my feet, so I kept pushing towards the center, my skates meeting just a ridge or two of what were previous skinny splits in the surface. The lake was my mirror, and I was intoxicated by her invitation to find my awkward self beautiful. The thing about thick ice is that it's dense, gray, almost white. You can't see through or yourself in it. Thinner ice is dark with a peppering of trapped air bubbles, constellations of fixed and shimmering stars. It's reflective, so much that you can make out each individual eyelash on your blinking face. I'd like to tell you that I made it all the way to the middle, but I didn't dare defy my parents quite that far. If there were a bullseye, I must have made it to the second most inner ring, where I got on my knees, pushed my face as close as I could get to the surface without touching. Breathing deeply, I smelled snow, which to me has always smelled a little bit like blood. It was so cold that day, and that close to the surface, that ice crystals formed on the inside of my nostrils when I breathed in, melted when I breathed out. I can't remember before or since ever feeling so physically alone. My breath was louder than God's. Mine was the only heartbeat for at least half a mile. Ever enamored with my reflection? I did what any kid might do. I licked it. Instantly, I was stuck, my tongue bonded to the ice no less than if I'd been stapled to it. The thing about having your tongue stuck to the ice is that it gives you a good long look at your reflection, time to face your 9-year-old sins, of which I'm ashamed to say there were already many, most of them involving grown men and my vagina. The other thing about having your tongue stuck to anything, I'd imagine, is that it impedes your ability to scream. Certainly, to direct your cries to a far-off shore to where inside your drugged and greasy mother has a stained bedspread pulled over her dreams, and your father is off brooding or doing whatever he does for days on end in the garage. I have been strangled before, so I can say that what ensues with such a tongue-stuck scream is a similar kind of sucking, gasping animal whine as when someone's hands are squeezing your throat. If you ever find yourself in such a position, your choices are pretty much these: to chop away at the ice with a frantic and insufficient fingernail while you panic that any puncture might inspire a seam to open, or yank. I yanked. Skating jerkily away behind me, I left a little pocket of tongue on the surface of that mirror. I suspect even a bud or two of what it takes to taste the full range of a single Michigan cherry. I think somehow it's this little piece of my tongue that I'm searching for when I'm having sex. I want desperately to have back my full palate, to be able to taste what's as subtle as a honeysuckle stamen in a vat of tropical juice. The thing about sex is that when you do it right or wrong enough, it leaves you soft, open, sensitive to even the slightest tickle. So while the tickle never gets me there, it's always what I'm seeking on the other side. The reason to chew gristle is to suck the sweet charred fat off, to retrieve what you can with your tongue before you slip it into your fingers through your teeth. Polite people might swallow, but I don't have a need for any more gristle in my middle. Lovers have told me that there's a noise I make at the moment I re-enter my body enough to feel. It's a boom, they say, like I'm about to crack wide open.